Hello and welcome to the first session of Karen's Colours for 2026. This is going to be one of those monthly colour forecasts, but before embarking on a reading for January 2026, I'd like to remind us all that this is a traditional time to review the past year before setting out our goals and resolutions for the upcoming year. If you've already done those resolutions, then maybe you might like to consider them in the light of what I present today. We're going to be examining the progress made, the setbacks encountered, the challenges that we've overcome, and the work that has been left undone. But before we begin, thank you once again for attending this session. I know that there are not many of you that do so, but I'm certainly hoping that those of you who do will get something positive out of these readings. The reading itself is going to be rather truncated because I'll spend most of the time looking at 2025 in review. We're going to be examining the colours of the main skills and experiences that you've had, the colours of the primary blockages or deficits that have afflicted you throughout the year. And the review will encourage you to think where you're going to go next. There'll be creation of New Year's resolutions that are involved, but those, of course, are very personal to you. And of course, because we make New Year's resolutions, there are lots of goals to be set, lots of ideas about where we want to go next. There is an importance in reviewing past experience so that we can create a future path. And that future path will be denoted by one colour card for January 26. And I'm going to also give you an oracle card to help guide the way. But otherwise, the reading will be extremely truncated. Certainly, enjoy. This brings us now to the colour reading summaries for people born in May. 2025 was a busy year. So let's have a look at what the colours have to say about it for you. You began February with the energy to stabilise and to create the work necessary to manage a whole range of challenges. And that is seen by the preponderance of red, cyan, and purple in your reading. By March, this had changed down to a determination, a goal setting, and the hard work necessary to obtain the various skills that were necessary to allow you the freedom to move forward, to allow you to follow your values, and also to take advantage of the opportunities. By April, however, those goals started to disintegrate. While you were having fun, which is designated by the purple, at the same time, it felt like you were playing rather than actually getting any work done. Yet you were still working very hard and at the same time learning new skills. By May, shock had set in. You had mental overload. There was too much information, too many things that needed to be learnt, too many new skills to acquire, too many things to remember from the past that enabled you to move forward. So May's white and yellow tended to predominate. By June, the white and yellow had receded, and in its place, there were alternatives. There was confusion about how to move forward, but alternatives were available to you. Certainly, being able to overcome the catastrophes of the month beforehand and to survive and readjust and to deal with the dramas was there available to you. By July, those same uncertainties and dramas were there, but now, because you could remember what you had learned, you were able to exploit your knowledge. By August, it had come around to play time again. There was a lot of fun available to you. Green and purple were the predominant colours. And this is where you began to play with the opportunities that had arisen for you. By September, once again, you needed to reassess, to pull things apart and to create something new. and that was again the purple showing itself. In October, there was back to setting new goals. Had what you were working on previously come to nothing, or had those goals now shifted? Certainly, the red and brown together caused you a certain degree of frustration, but at the same time also a new passion for starting up again. By November, it was pink and white and orange that predominated. Pink was vulnerability, white was shocks, and orange is crisis. So you found yourself having to completely re-evaluate, to look at things with fresh eyes, to start to see how things might work in the future and how they hadn't worked out in the past and what lessons could be learned from those. By December, there was withdrawal from everything. You were tired, you were worn out, you just about run out of all of the wherewithal to move forward. And so you withdrew. You stopped doing whatever it was you were doing and were now in a position of having to rethink, reevaluate, get in touch with your inner self. Just what exactly did you want out of life and out of your future? And that's what you were working on throughout December. Nevertheless, the overall colours that predominated throughout your year were purple, which arose 13 times, and brown, which came up 10 times. Purple was all about power and disruption and creativity and having fun playing with whatever new knowledge and experience you had in front of you. On the other hand, the brown was all about creation of goals and practical skills and being grounded in what is possible and what is workable, something that purple doesn't necessarily always align with. Which brings us now to the issues and outcomes that arose from your year. In February, you had a number of colours that started off as the baseline. By March, 3 of these, white, orange, and grey, had begun to predominate, and they continued through into April. And by May, the white had disappeared, so all of the shocks and the new discoveries had gone. And that continued through into June, where still you had grey and orange as your predominant colours. Grey and orange still persisted in July, but this time there was an opportunity that arose, some new idea, some new value, some new direction to take off in. And by August, that direction had either been chosen or there was a decision to be made, because instead of green, now black and white became dominant colours. Now, black and white are all about taking extremes, going from one example to another. These are opposites. And so you were flung between them, particularly since the orange and the grey, the confusion and the confidence to proceed, was still very much in evidence. By September, that orange and white took over. Now you were faced with a reality and also having to decide, are you going to continue? Are you able to face the challenges that arose? In October, it was all challenges. By November, it was back to challenges and uncertainty and confusion and trying to find a middle path. But by December, all you had left was the middle path. How are you going to move forward? Now, all of these were issues that you were trying to avoid. You didn't want to have to deal with all of these different challenges. You didn't want to have to show confidence and courage. And certainly they appeared to be lacking throughout the year, same as your ability to stabilize things and to be able to find whatever that middle road is that allowed you to move forward. But the one colour that predominated throughout the entire year was grey, and it was all about insecurity and confusion. What is it about grey that you wanted to avoid? Were you balanced? And probably the answer is no. Were you uncertain? The answer is probably yes. But all of this led to a good deal of procrastination and being rather objective in what it is that you were trying to do, whilst at the same time attempting to move forward. How much grey did you actually use as your treatment colours throughout the year? Because this is one colour that you had repeatedly coming up as a problem, and it was one that you really needed to face. All in all, the year gave you the ability to have and to create very effective and appropriate goals. But these were continually being disrupted by an inability to manage the confusion that arose, and also this tendency to procrastinate. You weren't moving forward in a direction far enough or fast enough. You were tending to sit back and just allow things to happen. That's not necessarily a good way of managing 2025. So let's have a look at how 2026 might come out for you. For this reading, I've chosen The Soul's Journey by James Van Praagh as the oracle to help us along the way. This oracle consists of a number of meditations, little sayings that you can put aside for yourself, perhaps even print them out and put them somewhere where you can see them daily, because they will help to direct where you need to go. So let's firstly begin with the colour reading for people born in May to see what guidance they need for January 2026. You only need one card, so let's have a look at it. Oh, well. Oh, May people. Brown internally means that there are lots of goals, lots of opportunities to create ambitions, to learn new skills, to actually consolidate the sorts of ideas that you have and the things that you need to do in order to be able to move forward. The thing is, though, you're not spending enough time taking time to think and consider what it is that you really need to do on your own spiritual path. You need to take time to recuperate. You need to take time to get in touch with what's going on inside, to find your soul's path. And in that process, then allow yourself to be directed where you need to go. So let's have a look at an oracle card to see what it has to say. And what we have here is adversity. And the meditation for adversity is, I accept that challenges are the best way to learn. Well, challenges are there aplenty in the brown. What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? How do you move forward? Adversity is the black. You can't move forward, can't move back. You are in some way captured, imprisoned, if you like. You need to stay stable. It's a big cross to bear, but because you can accept that adversity is the best way to learn, handicaps, problems, issues that stand in your way, obstacles, all of those are seen as a way to move forward if only you learn from them. There's a challenge for you, if ever there was one. Well, I hope you've received something positive out of that annual review and have taken on board the small colour reading and affirmation as a guide towards 2026. Certainly, looking at these readings from an annual perspective, a retrospective, I've come across a number of insights, both for myself, but also on behalf of those people that I know that have birthdays in the various months that I have been reading for. And one of the things that's come up here is whether or not I would even bother to continue with these. I feel hopeful that I should. I also feel as though I need to make some alterations. If you can think of suggestions that might make these more user-friendly, if you've been following the readings at all, you might even find that there's something in them that you might like to comment about. And I'd really appreciate those comments, because right now I'm in a dilemma, which is why I haven't actually done a full reading for every month, for every birthday month for January. It all depends on the results of this reading as to whether or not I continue. I have a lot to contemplate. My black is quite prominent too. Anyway, if you're new here and you haven't actually seen these before, you might think they're a bit confusing. That's part and parcel of a colour reading. It's something that most people will never have experienced. So I wish you all the best for 2026, and hopefully we'll meet again for more colour readings. If not, plenty of other things I can talk about that have to do with colour. Until next time, bye.